Hello and welcome back, guys. This is Ibrahim Qureshi here, and we are here at VMware Explore 2025 at Las Vegas. I
Yep.
have Bob here from Device42, and we are going to have a quick demo of the product which they have. So, Bob, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, a quick demo is relative, right? Because I could talk for 5 minutes or I could talk about 6 hours.
Nice.
But yeah, really what Device42 does is really about discovery. So everything within your IT environment, that could
Yeah,
be hardware, that could be software, it could
yeah,
be OSs. But then it takes it a step further because it's also looking at the service interactions between them, which is
yeah,
going to build dependencies. It also takes a look at resource utilization. That's going to help you do like optimization workflows or modernization workflows,
yeah.
and then it brings it all into one kind of platform. And the
Nice.
goal here is if you have all the information, but there's no way to visualize it or no way to access it, it just becomes a liability because it's another silo of information
Yeah.
that nobody looks at. So you had asked me earlier kind of why Device 42 and what makes that different.
Yes.
I'm going to show you two slides really quickly just because it will give you some kind of framework as to what we're looking at.
Brilliant.
But Device 42 is really known for its breadth of discovery.
Nice.
And that's grabbing things like your physical data center, whether that's a smart PDU, maybe that's a crack sensor,
Yeah.
maybe something like that, where you're getting an idea of the actual environment, grabbing your network, your storage arrays, the things that everyone's used to, your Windows and Linux machines,
Yeah.
but even old stuff, right? You're talking like mainframes, AS400s, AIX, Solaris,
Yeah.
the things that most discovery technologies don't get. And
Yeah.
what we really want to avoid is a gap.
Yeah.
You don't want a gap in the information, or you can't make data-driven decisions based off it. Obviously, we're here because we also look at VMware,
Yeah.
but that's not the only hypervisor, right? Getting
Yes.
your Hyper-V, your Nutanix, your
We have
OpenStack,
OpenStack,
uh,
Nutanix. Yeah.
KVMs,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
because maybe you want to migrate things off of that and onto VMware, or vice versa. You want to be flexible and be able to adapt.
And we have
Containerization in a
containerization. Yeah.
multi-cloud environment, and then even grabbing your end user compute, which has actually become a lot more important with ever since COVID.
Yes.
Everyone's bringing your own device and stuff like that. Making sure you get that mobile management is a big piece in your IT strategy.
Definitely. Definitely.
Now
So this is
that's
a very good slide. It shows exactly what Device 42 does.
yep,
It basically doesn't leave a gap. So you have the full information of your IT infrastructure down to even end user computing, like
yep.
by your own devices, which not I don't think a lot of product can you know get into you know in your environment, and even getting to the stuff which is old school legacy
Yeah.
environment and all that. So that's a really
Well,
unique
and this comes
USP
into
on
play a
theirs.
lot more depending on kind of what verticals you're talking about.
Yeah.
So if you have people watching your YouTube channel that are in the financial industry,
Yeah.
they tend to go through a lot of mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
They pick up old mainframes, they pick AIX
Yeah.
servers, and it becomes like a technical debt because they have no way of seeing the visibility.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that environment, they
Yeah.
inherited it. So being able to gather that is a big deal. And the data center too is also a big deal. Even though people are moving away from data center,
Yeah.
being able to get it as a power circuit comes into your building all the way through the workflows that are supporting your environment is really that full life cycle that people want. They
Yeah.
don't want a million different tools. They want, to put on my Lord of the Rings hat, they want the one tool to rule them all,
Nice.
and in
Nice.
the darkness bind them.
Definitely. Definitely.
But this is only half the story.
Okay.
Because if we discover all these assets,
Yeah.
but then we don't tell you much about it,
Yeah.
it almost gives you false security because you think you're covered when you're not. And
Yeah.
so the other slide that I'll show you is it's also the depth of discovery. So it is grabbing those physical components. Congratulations, I hit an IP and I saw a host name.
Yeah.
Cool. But then it's also grabbing your metaphysical environment, your multi-cloud environment.
Yeah.
It is grabbing all the network infrastructure. So your
Yeah.
switches, your routers, your firewall rules, things like that. We're
Nice.
taking a look at all the installed software in that environment. That's going to start pushing you into more of those other high value subjects, like you're talking security and risk.
Yeah.
If I can see which devices have been patched, which ones haven't, which ones have prohibited software, which ones
Yeah.
don't have mandated software,
Yeah.
that's a big deal for a lot of our customers. We'll take a look at service communication across them. Again, that gets into kind of your GRC, your compliance workflows. If I have sensitive data, I need to make sure that that's not going to my development environment, it's staying in production, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So grabbing those services, resource utilization, that's going to be your CPU, your memory, your disk, and your network. That helps you with optimization and modernization workflows. And then really if you're an executive, thanks for watching his channel.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, nobody cares about your Windows server. That's what I like to tell people.
Yeah.
They care that your email system runs on that Windows
At the end,
server
whether
or
it
your
is
payroll.
performing, whether it is working,
Right,
and
exactly.
it's available when you need it.
And so that's going to be the level that ties the IT asset to the actual business deliverable. So this is what keeps your lights on. This is how people have productivity, and that's going to be the most important piece, in my opinion.
So one thing I want to highlight is obviously you guys are on all the cloud platforms, which is
Yep.
really nice. So it's not going to miss out anything which you
Right.
have on different clouds. So you have Google, Azure, AWS, Alibaba, OpenStack. So everything is here. So that's basically going to take care of your cloud infrastructure, anything running on cloud side as well.
We don't like gaps. Nobody
Yes,
likes gaps.
nice. So again, I'm very technical, so I'm really interested in finding out how do you do it
Sure.
in a sense. Maybe we can do another session later on where you can talk about whether it's a agent which you install
Yep.
or it's an appliance which we deploy and goes into the network and
Yeah.
finds it. So
I can actually talk about that really quickly in the demo, so we
Yeah.
can touch on some of
Yeah.
that. Because that's a great question. Because a lot of businesses will, in some ways, restrict your ability to get information. So
Yeah.
if you're kind of like a one-trick pony, and I'm like, I only install agents, you're going to have admins, you're going to have security people that say, let's not. And if you only do SNMP, you're going to have financial institutions that have blocked SNMP,
Yeah.
in which case
Yeah.
you're not going to get much information. So Device42 actually handles that through a variety of different discovery protocols. So maybe we're using Nmap, maybe we're doing a ping sweep, maybe we're doing SNMP, maybe we're doing a TCP port scan. For the majority of your environment, you're going to be hitting OSs,
Yeah.
right? So your Windows, your Linux, your AIX,
Yeah.
that's going to fall under our hypervisors, Unix, Linux, Windows. That's typically done via login. So like on a Linux, Unix machine, that's going to be a port 22 SSH connection.
Yeah.
For your Windows environment, that's going to use something like WinRM.
Yeah.
We do offer an agent, but I would say that's probably used in less than 2% of our scans. But a great example of when you would want to use that is, say you have like a DMZ,
Yeah.
or you have somebody with a very important laptop that goes out into the field,
Yeah.
and it's not always on the network, but you want it to still check back in. That's a good example of an agent, but let's not otherwise.
Got you.
We use a cloud connector. We use OpenSSL to do certificates.
Mhm.
We can do database scans, looking at Oracle, SQL, MySQL, stuff like that, and find out where those connections are. We're using an API to hit the storage arrays. So a lot of different ways to kind of peel back that orange and take a look underneath. So that's a great question. A lot is what we're doing on the discovery side.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Okay, so can we have a quick demo of the product?
Yeah, let me do a real quick drive-by, and then if there's something in particular you really like or want to see more, we can just pivot and go for it.
Yeah.
Shared Wi-Fi permitting. But really, at the start of it, let's actually take a look to see what a typical record looks like.
Okay, sure.
Because I want to show you that there is kind of like a wealth of information even at that level. So jumping into this MySQL record, this is going to be a database backend.
Yep.
It works on a virtual machine running Linux. And you'll see, obviously, we got the name of it. Congratulations.
Nice.
But we're also grabbing the virtual type. We're grabbing the ESX host that that's running on. If we scroll down further, we're going to get information about the CPU, the memory, the BIOS, all that level of information. Scrolling down, you can see there's a lot of different CIs we're grabbing about it. Last logins, parts. Here's one I particularly care about. We hit the package manager on the OS, and we look at all the installed software. This is going to help you when you're talking about software asset management, if you're talking software license management. It also allows you to do things like finding all the machines that are patched or are not patched.
So
or have
compliance
prohibited.
side as well.
Yes.
Oh,
really
nice.
big on the compliance side.
Yeah. So we can have an eagle eye view on all the infrastructure which is actually out of patches and which is
exactly.
alerting
There's
on
a little
security.
bit of something for everyone.
Oh, nice, nice.
From a service perspective, we'll do netstat on these machines and find service communications on or off the box.
Yep.
We're going to use that ultimately. I'll shortcut and tell you we're going to look at dependencies.
Yep.
So we're going to say, hey, this machine constantly goes back to this MySQL server, and so we know that there's a data relationship there.
Sure.
Now we will grab trending information as well. This is going to be a lot of your counters by hitting Resmon. So your CPU, your memory, your disk, things like that. That really helps you in optimization workflows, but it also helps you identify kind of orphaned or abandoned servers.
Yeah.
Right? If I have 50% of my environment isn't going above 10% CPU utilization,
Yeah.
that's not an active environment.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure for many reasons that we're taking those out of the environment,
Gotcha.
whether that's for cost savings or risk mitigation.
Cool.
I'll show you one other quick one on this view, and then we're going to jump into something more valuable. The topology view, we're just picking this up automatically. There's two different topologies. This is a demo environment, so very
Very
small,
yeah.
but we have our network connectivity, so this is who it talks to on the network.
Nice.
And then over on the right, this is kind of how far into the weeds we get. So we'll see what type of connection. So I see that we have Java connections out to these two servers.
Yeah.
We've got a MySQL connection out to this. So this is probably the database connection
so
backend.
it's already doing the mapping and everything.
Exactly.
So you're seeing the flow where the data is going and all.
And if you wanted to, you could click into any of these connections to get more details.
Nice.
But what we'll do automatically is we'll build these application groups. So when we see a collection of information that looks like it's probably an application stack, I'm just going to pick this one as 15. I don't know which one this is.
Okay.
But we're going to take a look and try and figure out what those connections and relationships are. Nice. And if we jump into it, we'll get information like what ports and protocols are being used. Nice. But we also have this time series on this collected workflow. So I can see what this workflow looked like over time. Yeah. And if I saw any big changes, all right, we got a few more connections there. We got a bunch of connections there. I could jump in and see what those changes were. Nice. So you can already start moving into the idea of like configuration drift. If you had audit and compliance and you needed to see what changed, that would be a great example. Or say you're doing something like you use ServiceNow or Freshservice or Jira JSM, and you're using a ticketing service, this can help you with incident response. Everything was working, now it's not. What changed?
What changed?
Let's see what changed.
So it's a snapshot of what
before, it kind of gives you that
TiVo
effect where you can go back in time.
Exactly. And this is very helpful for troubleshooting, really.
Very,
because
very
as
big on
a
that.
technical person, when troubleshooting issues, this is what I would go and look at first.
Yes.
If something was working yesterday, what happened overnight, what time, what has changed, whether it was a patch, whether it was someone who blocked, some port.
That should be the absolute first question. What changed?
What changed?
What changed?
Yeah.
Everything was working. What changed?
Definitely. Yeah.
So let's take a look and see what changed. Now, another area, because we're getting all these different devices, we're getting that connectivity. The next question is, how do we use that in the real world, all the way back to physical? Now, we offer DSIM as part of the product. So if you wanted to kind of see what your room layout looked like, you could take a look and actually look at your rack. You could control your rack from here by going to the layout or the details. I'm actually going to look at the layout really quick, just because I want to show this one thing. Physical connections. From my experience in the past from previous jobs, we never went into our own data center. We would use a service provider. We would have Unisys go in and re-rack things. The problem is, how do you do that when you're not familiar with the environment? So getting a full wire layout of the environment, you can see what's plugged into each PDU, where the different Ethernet ports start and terminate is a big value. So that's just a very quick, brief look at the DSIM.
Is this basically populating it automatically, or is it something which we have
There's
to
a little bit automated and a little bit manual.
Okay.
That's a really good
call. But then
call
it actually gives you, when you're done with it, you actually have a realistic information of which port is connecting which server to which switch on which port, right?
Right. So logically, just so it doesn't feel like anyone's claiming I'm calling magic here.
Yeah.
We can get like port configurations and we can get port mappings.
Yeah.
So we can see when we query that switch what's at the end of it from like a MAC address or IP address.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long that cable is. So that could be a slot above, it could be in the next rack, it could even be across the room. So like you would have to drag and drop it on where it lives, but we could see what's in the room. We can get you that level of information.
That's the bit which the software can do for you.
Yep.
The other bit is like manual.
Yeah, otherwise you'd need some kind of weird RFID solution or something.
No.
Which some decent solutions have, right?
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Excellent. Thank you very much for that.
Yep. And then really ultimately at the end of the day, if we discover everything but there's nothing you can do with that information, that's not particularly useful.
Data is valuable, but we
Yep.
need to be able to format it in a
So
right
what?
way so that we can understand it first,
Yep.
right? So here
So
we are with the dashboard.
yeah, so we have countless different reports and dashboards built into it. We also have the ability to create our own. So what I'm going to show you is actually two dashboards that I created on my own when
Okay.
I had a customer or a partner ask me for something. One may not be the nicest thing to show ever,
Yeah.
but it came from this very show 2 years ago. So we heard of the acquisition of VMware. There was a little bit of panic because people thought their licensing might change, and they combine that with not understanding how they're actually using VMware.
Yeah.
So sometimes just knowledge
Yeah.
helps put those fears at ease, and you
Definitely.
can just make intelligent decisions, not from fear, but from understanding.
Understanding. Yeah.
So what I did was a VMware analysis dashboard where I took a look at your entire environment. I found out how many VM hosts we have,
Yeah.
what the subscribed cores are, what the subscribed RAM is. And then I looked at CPU subscription against each host, RAM subscription, kind of got an idea of host cores versus what's subscribed. So you can see we got some good thin provisioning here. That's a good economic use of your environment.
Nice.
But then what I took a look at was client dependencies. So do these devices talk to other devices on the network? Where do they map to from like a storage array perspective? And then I took a look at resource utilization. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you're afraid of licensing,
Yeah.
a lot of licensing is based off of cores.
Yes.
Or is it based off of
CPU
some kind of a
cores.
subscription, right?
Yeah.
And so what I took a look at was what was your current, what would it look like if you sunset the ones that never went above 10% CPU? Because
Okay.
that's probably a sign of.
Yeah.
I took a look at if we right sized it. So if you gave it 8 cores, but you never used more than 6,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and right size it. And then what if you did both? And that way you could get an idea in your own environment, what would it look like if I did any changes? And then I gave you kind of what was your 30-day CPU average, your memory average, things like that.
Excellent. So it's like a project on its own to identify how you're
Yeah.
using. And I know, as a fact, I have worked on right sizing environments, and we save ton of memory and CPUs.
It's crazy.
The only, I guess, work around it is you need to talk to the right person and get their buying, and in understanding that, okay, actually your project asks for 42 GB, but you're actually using 8 GB.
Exactly.
So we are going to take it away.
Yep.
But if you need it, we may have features like hot add memory and CPU where
Yep.
we can increase it on the fly, and then you can have that assurance that if you do need that resource back, you will get it on a fly. We just need a ticket or a call to us, and then we can do it for you, right?
Yep. Now,
So-
speaking of which, we see a lot of information like that. This kind of a pivot based on what you were saying. These things don't magically happen, right? Someone's got to do the work. So sometimes your VMware admin or someone will do that. Sometimes you're using a third party. So you're using a partner like an SHI, a CDW, a TCS, something like that. Or
Yeah.
Dell. Dell's a huge partner of ours.
Yeah.
To do some kind of modernization or maybe a cloud migration or something like that.
Yeah.
All of this data is also very portable. So if I go to advanced reporting, and I believe it's under integrations, workload portability, I use AWS as an example.
Okay.
I can do AWS migration portfolio assessment, and it's going to bundle all that information about the environment in a way that AWS is used to receiving it. So what are all the servers? What are the applications that we discovered? All the different databases? What are those connections? What do those look like? And that way they can right size it and help you port that information over as well.
Brilliant.
So it's a really good
Yeah.
call out.
Nice. Thank you very much. Do we have anything more interesting or a technical side we can cover on the next session maybe?
I'll do one more here really quickly.
Yeah.
This is a dashboard I made that kind of bubbles up a lot of just really, oh, I should probably action something.
Yeah.
So all my discovered devices, if I had devices that had insecure ports open, I might want to do something about that, right?
Yeah.
So if I switch this down to 80, there I get more of the title. All your devices that don't have TLS 1.2 or greater, so these are
Yeah.
cryptographically weak machines.
Yeah.
And then doing like full aggregate reporting of every single version of every OS in your environment,
Yeah.
and then tell me what are the total cores, the CPUs, the number of devices. So again, really, yeah, I mean, also adding things like end of support, end of life information,
Yeah.
identifying like zombie cloud resources. But at the end of the day, to really summarize, Device42 is going to find everything in the IT environment
Nice.
and then hopefully give you ways to digest that information.
Yeah.
So anyone in the environment can
Yeah.
actually make a decision, whether that's a technical person or whether that's a financial person who wants to do FinOps.
Yeah.
We're hoping that that information can be presented to them in a useful way.
Nice.
And then integrated in with other solutions, right? Because
Great.
your ITSM platforms are going to want this information,
Yes.
your security teams are going to want this information. So
Yeah.
making sure that we make that available everywhere.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So that kind of wraps it up. So the product basically is like a genie. So it
Yep.
basically goes and
I
gets
call it Google
everything.
for your IT. Can I ask
Yeah.
it anything?
Yes. So Google for your IT then, right? So it has all the information and it will allow you to take that information and present. You can see it in a presentable fashion where you can understand what is going to be becoming a risk in security like TLS, or what is end of life in and your legacy environment, and make a tactical decision
Yep.
around it. So yeah, thank you very much, Bob, for
Thank you so
giving
much.
us, and appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.